Okay, so this is your feedback for evaluation question 1. So this is nice. We've got a little introduction here, which is quite good. Talked about expectations. Yep, that's really good. Easy recognisable. Yep, that's very good. So you got a bit of kind of blurb at the beginning talking about why we have genre conventions. The other thing you could explain on that is also you could discuss how you also have conventions of form, which is things like the shape of the trailer, the layout of a magazine, which doesn't really change that much depending on genre, and you could just establish at the beginning you've got two types. The other thing you can introduce here is subgenre, and talk about that. And the last thing you could do is you could just basically say this idea of categorizing it in order to market the film to certain people. But that's good. So here we could put our subgenre mood board that we put from our research and planning, and we could just elaborate upon what subgenres are, why we have them, what function they serve. So on here, this is interesting. So we've got a side-by-side GIF, and you've put the name of the person who's written it. So there's a fair amount written here. Talks about the tone of it. This is good. Yeah, good. So we talked about challenging it. That's nice. Okay, here we talked about settings, and we're challenging it here. Yeah, that's very good. Camera techniques, so we talked about tracking shots. Good. Yeah, and then you've talked about using your hoverboard. This is really nice. I like that. It's presented well. And then obviously, yeah, we had some troubles and we put in the Prezi in. So let's have a quick look at that. So this is, don't call it untitled presentation if you're going to hand it in. That's just a bit of advice there. So if you're calling it subgenre. Oh, okay, that's nice. Yep. Good. Yep. Okay, that's good. Oops. Okay, we now move on to the montage section, so that's those two things side by side. Good, some good analysis here. Okay, I'll come back to that when it's loaded. Again, don't call it untitled presentation. Okay, so this is interesting. You want to talk about the fact it's a teaser, yeah, as opposed to watching a full-length theatrical trailer. The other thing is obviously if you're going to show this in cinemas or on television, you have to buy and pay for more advertising space the longer the thing is. This might be something where you discuss how it makes the story not particularly important, and it's more about the structure of making people jump. Yeah, this is good. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Yep. So you might want to change that to narrative, and within that, you'll probably want to change that to discussing Todorov in terms of beginning, middle, and end. The other thing you could do, so if you didn't want to talk about beginning, middle, end, and narrative, you could talk about key scenes. So you could talk about your stock scenes that you put in there, like people being dragged into the dark and that sort of stuff. What I would say is that these guys got more marks here because they talked about things like Levi Strauss. They brought some sort of theory into this. They also obviously talked about Todorov and showed you examples of binary opposition in people's work, and then showed it in their own work as well. So we could probably extend that a little bit in terms of that section of talking about narrative. Probably you want to now put in Todorov and maybe a bit of Levi Strauss in there. Okay, so we've got props and stuff like that on here. Yeah, that's good. And then lighting, low key areas. Yeah, good. Yeah, this is all nice. Okay, so again, you're talking about editing now, you're talking about pacing. Yep. Obviously, you want to talk here about the fact that you have to have that montage in there for it to be a teaser trailer. So regardless of it being a horror film. Okay, so all that remains in is pretty good so far. It's quite a lot of work there. I need just coming down to it. I think maybe consider having a little bit more about Todorov in there. I think that's a kind of given if you're talking about the structure, plot, to bring that in. The only other thing I'd say is if you can put a conclusion on it, and the conclusion would be responding to that actual question of like how have you used it? So overall, does it use them? Does it challenge them? Does it do it effectively? Does it meet the audience's expectations? Does it create that visceral pleasure for them? Talk about the stuff that we talked about in the genre essay. So so far, I think as a whole, we're looking pretty good here. We're sort of definitely looking above the sort of C plus area, probably around the kind of B minus at the minute, on condition that there's a little bit more in there on some of these sections. But yeah, it's a very strong piece of level 3 work. Probably put it in the middle, which is kind of probably towards the sort of B minus area at the moment, straddling that kind of bracket. Thanks a lot.